The Cartographer of Oblivion, as he was whispered about in circles of learned men, though no one had ever seen his face, and even his true name was not known for certain. They said he was engaged in drawing maps, not of known lands, but of territories that slip away from memory, maps of fading recollections, forgotten dreams, fleeting moments. For many, his occupation seemed eccentric, a pursuit for a madman. But for those who had reached a certain age, and who were beginning to feel the sands of time slipping through their fingers, his work acquired a special, almost mystical meaning. Imagine, you open an atlas, but on its pages, not mountains and rivers, not cities and countries. Instead, shimmering outlines of faces, semi-erased contours of places, fragments of melodies that are barely audible, like an echo. These are the maps of oblivion, created by the cartographer. They said he used special instruments, not a brush and pen, but some subtle devices, capturing the vibrations of memory, fluctuations of consciousness, shadows of fleeting thoughts. Some sought his maps, hoping to recover what was lost. Elderly people whose memories of youth were becoming increasingly hazy. Scientists trying to find lost knowledge in the depths of memory. Artists striving to capture the elusive beauty of a moment. But the cartographer, rumor had it, did not sell his maps. He only showed them to those who were ready to look not at what is, but at what is disappearing, at that fine line between being and non-being, where memory meets oblivion. Once, according to legend, a man came to the cartographer, having achieved everything one could dream of: wealth, fame, power. But, standing before his invisible table, cluttered with maps, he confessed his confusion. "Cartographer," he said, "I have achieved everything, but I feel emptiness. What is the meaning of it all? If all this will one day disappear, sink into oblivion, become just a point on your maps of oblivion." The cartographer, as always silent, only pointed to one of the maps. On it, in hazy outlines, the contour of a human palm holding a flower was barely visible. The contours were shimmering, almost disappearing, but in their center a faint light still flickered. Meaning, the invisible lines of the map seemed to whisper, is not an eternal possession, but in the fleeting touch of beauty, in the value of each fleeting moment. Even oblivion is only a part of a larger picture, a necessary ebb after the tide of memory. The rich and famous man stared at this map for a long time, at the shimmering contour of a palm and a flower. And, perhaps for the first time in his life, he saw true wealth, not in the accumulation of things, but in the ability to appreciate the beauty of a fleeting moment, even in the face of inevitable oblivion. Maps of oblivion are not an atlas of losses, but rather a mirror of maturity, reminding of the value of the present and of the fact that even in the shadow of oblivion, the light of a life lived flickers, like a faint spark on a map created by the silent cartographer. And, perhaps, it is in contemplating these maps that the true wisdom of mature age lies. The ability to see beauty not only in what is, but also in what is leaving, understanding that everything is part of the eternal cosmic dance of memory and oblivion. Imagine an unusual auction. It does not sell paintings or jewels, but lived years. Yes, exactly. The auction of lived years, a place where the rich and powerful try to buy themselves a little more time, a few extra years of life. Of course, this is an allegory, a metaphor, if you will. But for those who understand the price of time, it sounds especially poignant. Different lots are offered at the auction. A year of solitary contemplation in a mountain monastery. A lot for those seeking peace and wisdom. 5 years of vigorous activity and new opportunities for those yearning for success and recognition. 10 years of peaceful family life among loved ones for those who value warmth and closeness. Prices reach the skies. Bidding is fought not for life, but for death, both literally and figuratively. Among the buyers, magnates and politicians, stars and scientists, those for whom the world seems not long enough, those who want to achieve even more, live even more richly, postpone the inevitable tomorrow. They believe that money can buy everything, even time. But is it so? Behind the scenes of the auction, an old auctioneer watches, a man whose eyes have seen more than words can tell. He knows that time is neither sold nor bought. You can buy a lot, a promise of a year of peace or 5 years of success, but you cannot buy time itself, its flow, its relentlessness. Time is the great equalizer, and before it all are equal, be it a beggar or a king. Once, after another auction, a young and ambitious broker approached the auctioneer, who had just won the 5 years of vigorous activity lot. "Mr. Auctioneer," he said, shining with pride, "I paid a huge sum for these years. I intend to use them to the maximum, to reach unprecedented heights, to conquer the world." The auctioneer silently looked at him with his penetrating eyes. Then he said quietly, "Young man, you have bought not years, but only the illusion of control over time. The real value of time is not in its quantity, but in its quality. You can live 100 years, but never understand what it means to live. Or you can live less, but fill every moment with meaning and value. Do not chase illusions. Seek true wealth in every day lived." The broker left, probably not understanding his words. But the auctioneer knew, sooner or later, all visitors to the auction of lived years come to the same understanding. Time cannot be bought. It can only be valued, filled with meaning, lived fully and consciously. And the true wealth of maturity is not in prolonging life, but in the ability to see value in every moment granted, understanding that it too is a priceless gift, not subject to buying and selling at the auction of lived years. After all, the true wealth of time is not in its duration, but in its depth. In a quiet harbor, where time flows more slowly than in the turbulent waters of megacities, lived the gardener of time. Not an ordinary gardener, of course. His garden was not of flowers and trees, but of moments of time. The garden of fleeting moments, as locals called it, shrugging and chuckling at the old man's eccentricity. But those who were wiser and more experienced knew that in this eccentricity lay a deep truth. The gardener grew not roses and lilies, but minutes of joy, hours of tranquility, days of reflection, years of love. How did he do it? No one knew for sure. They said he used special seeds, invisible to the eye, but felt by the heart. Seeds of attention, contemplation, gratitude, acceptance of the present. And his garden, invisible to ordinary eyes, blossomed in the souls of those who could see with their hearts. Different people came to the gardener of time. Young people seeking elusive happiness, mature people tired of the hustle and bustle and the pursuit, old people striving to fill their remaining days with meaning. To each he gave not ready-made fruits, but only seeds, seeds of opportunity to grow their own garden of time within themselves. Once, a successful businessman came to him who had achieved everything he dreamed of: wealth, power, recognition. But in his eyes, weariness and disappointment were read. "Gardener," he said, "I have achieved everything, but I don't feel joy. Can you give me some happiness, even for a day, for an hour?" The gardener smiled and gave him an invisible seed in his hand. "This is a seed of a minute of joy," he said. "But remember, I cannot give you joy itself. I can only give you the opportunity to grow it inside yourself. Plant this seed in your heart, water it with attention, contemplation of the present moment, and perhaps it will sprout." The businessman left, skeptically smirking. But on his way home, he decided to test the old man's advice. He slowed down, stopped, and looked around. He saw the sunset, painting the sky in bright colors, heard the singing of birds, felt a light breeze on his face. And, to his surprise, he felt something like joy. Not a loud triumph of victory, but a quiet, peaceful joy of simple being, joy at the beauty of a fleeting moment. He returned to the Gardener of Time with a new feeling, not disappointment, but surprise and hope. And the gardener gave him more seeds, seeds of tranquility, reflection, love. And the businessman began to grow his own garden of time inside himself. Not a garden of success and achievements, but a garden of true wealth, the wealth of moments lived, filled with meaning and value. After all, the true gardener of time is not the one who owns time, but the one who knows how to grow a garden of the soul in it. In a secluded corner of the city, where time seemed to slow down its pace, existed the workshop of time. Not a clock shop, no. Here they did not repair gears and hands, but time itself. For those who hurry and rush, this place remained unnoticed. But for those who can feel the subtle vibrations of being, the workshop opened up like a portal to another dimension. The master of the workshop was old Kronos, a man whose face bore the seal of ages, and whose eyes shone with the wisdom of times. He did not speak words, did not give lavish promises. He just worked, quietly, imperceptibly, as if tuning the subtlest mechanism of time itself. In the workshop, there were no familiar tools, only strange devices, glowing flasks, rustling crystals, and sounds, quiet sounds of time, the whisper of fleeting seconds, the chime of past hours, the echo of distant epochs. Here it was possible to repair time, slow down its course for those who want to prolong a moment of joy, or speed it up for those who languish in anticipation. But most importantly, here it was possible to understand time, its nature, its value. People came to Kronos, tired of the race for time, eager to understand how to manage their lives and not be managed by it. Students who could not keep up with the pace of study, businessmen losing control over project time, elderly people feeling the speed of fleeting years. To each, Kronos gave his lesson, not in words, but in the very atmosphere of the workshop, where time became tangible, pliable, understandable. Once, a young woman came to him, a successful career woman, mired in deadlines and meetings. "Master Kronos," she said in despair, "I am losing time. My life is passing by. I don't have time to live. Help me slow down time, stop its course." Kronos smiled and led her to the window, through which a view opened onto a quiet courtyard. Time cannot be stopped, my daughter, he said quietly, but it can be lived differently. Look around. Do you see the leaves slowly falling from the trees? Do you hear the quiet whisper of the wind? Do you feel the tranquility of this moment? This is real time, not the time of clocks and deadlines, but the time of being, the time of mindfulness, the time of life. The woman froze, peering into the quiet courtyard, listening to the sounds of the workshop, feeling the tranquility of this place. And for the first time in a long time, she felt slowing down, not time around, but time within herself. The time of hustle and bustle and pursuit receded, opening up space for the time of contemplation, for the time of mindfulness, for the time of life. She left the workshop of time not with a recipe for time management, but with an understanding of its true nature. Time is neither enemy nor master, but a partner whom you need to feel, understand, and live consciously. And the true workshop of time is not on the street of a quiet city, but within ourselves, in the ability to adjust the inner rhythm of life in harmony with the eternal flow of time. After all, the true mastery of time is not in conquering it, but in its awareness and acceptance. In an ancient city, where every house breathed history, and every alley kept a secret, there existed the Museum of Fate's Mirrors. Not a museum of ordinary mirrors, of course. Here, not faces and interiors were reflected, but possible options of fates, reflections of lives not lived, but could be lives. For ordinary people, this place seemed strange and gloomy. But for those who were ready to look into their own depths and into the boundlessness of possibilities, the museum opened its doors into a world of reflections on choice and destiny. The curator of the museum was Old Mirror Maker, a man whose eyes saw not only reflections, but also the essence of things, through the veil of times and possibilities. He led visitors through the halls, where mirrors of various shapes and sizes shimmered, each a window into another fate, into an unlived life that could have become reality. In one mirror, you could see the reflection of yourself, a successful businessman, bathing in luxury and recognition. In another, yourself, but having devoted life to science among books and laboratory equipment. In the third, yourself, traveling the world in search of spiritual enlightenment. The mirror showed not the future, but only possible options, paths that could have been chosen, but never became reality. People came to the Mirror Maker, standing at a crossroads, doubting the correctness of their choice, eager to see alternatives and understand their true destiny. Young people choosing a path in life, mature people evaluating the path, old people reflecting on the inevitability of the finale. To each, the Mirror Maker gave his lesson, not imposing answers, but only helping to see the variety of opportunities and the freedom of choice. Once, a woman came to the museum, having achieved a certain success in her career, but feeling dissatisfaction and doubts. Mirror Maker, she asked anxiously, I am afraid that I have chosen the wrong path. Show me a mirror of my correct fate, a fate where I would be truly happy. The Mirror Maker smiled and led her to a mirror, at first glance no different from others. But, looking closely, the woman saw in it an ordinary room, cozy and simple, where she sat by the fireplace, reading a book, and children played nearby. Not fame and luxury, but quiet family happiness. This is one of the possible fates, said the Mirror Maker quietly. But there are others, and no one can say which of them is correct. There is no single true fate. There is only freedom of choice and responsibility for it. Happiness is not in choosing one path, but in the ability to find meaning and value in any chosen path, to live it fully and consciously. The woman stared into the mirror for a long time, at the image of herself in quiet family comfort. Then she turned her gaze to her reflection in the present, a successful but doubting career woman. And she understood. It is not in the mirrors of fates that answers should be sought, but in her own heart. Freedom of choice is both a gift and a responsibility. And the true museum of fates is not in an ancient city, but within ourselves, in the ability to see the variety of opportunities and freely choose our own path, filling it with meaning and value. After all, the true mastery of life is not in searching for the correct fate, but in the ability to create your own, unique and meaningful one.